Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Recap. I'm Alex.
I'm Sean.
And we're going to be talking about Season 5 of Game of Thrones. I also really love this season because last season where we left off with the episode called The Children, which is all about the ending of the old, Tywin's dead, all the kids are sort of like picking up where everybody left off and sort of changing the world, changing the way things are. So season 5 is sort of all about that, about the kids moving forward. And that's pretty much what Game of Thrones is all about, is like how things are going to change because the kids survived.
Yeah. I love season 5 too. It ends a little heartbreaking. But along the way, it kind of picks up kind of where in the formula of season 1, 2, and 3, because it's building up towards something. But unlike the rest of the seasons, the final episode leaves you with something that you have to then deal with until, like normal shows are, where you have this big cliffhanger, this big moment. And usually they do that in season episode 9, and the fallout's in 10. But in this season, we see that happen in actual episode 10.
The end of the season,
and then you have to wait until season 6 to see how it unfolds. So it's a little bit different in that sense, but still a very, very enjoyable season.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things, if we just want to start in King's Landing, get that out of the way.
Sure.
One of my favorite things about this season is we get to watch Cersei tortured. Like, not in the Bolton sense of the word, but just knock her down,
she's knocked down
she's finally getting, what she deserves because she's been kind of a huge bitch, as the series goes on. And we're finally seeing her, actions taking a toll on her. Like, things did not go the way she planned when she put the High Sparrow into power.
But as things have gone for Cersei in the first couple of seasons, we get to see her revel in it for a little bit. Like, enjoy putting the High Sparrow into power and seeing it play in her advantage for a little bit. Until eventually he turned... Well, I wouldn't even say eventually turned. His whole plan was to turn on her.
Well, I don't think it was a plan at all. I think he really thinks that he is doing God's work.
Oh, I agree, but
it's not like he's conniving, like, ooh, I'm going to turn on her. Well, it's just sort of like
he is conniving.
I don't think so.
In the sense
I really don't think so. And did you grow up Catholic?
Yeah, but he knew.
Because
he knew her sins way before. He knew them.
True.
And he didn't act on them until... he had all the power.
Well, I think he wanted to see exactly how things were going to work out for
so he's playing a game himself. The show's called Game of Thrones for a reason. He's playing a game all to himself, too. I mean, he's doing it with the idea of, being a higher power and doing it for the gods and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's all well and true, but at the end of the day, he's a man like all the rest of them, and he likes power, too, so he held that little piece of information until he knew it would benefit him the most. Because giving her that information at the beginning doesn't serve him anything.
Not even benefit him, because I don't know how much he benefits from getting rid of Cersei. It's more like, oh, I can finally, give the gods what they want. I think it's not about him. It's not about he needs power. It's about...
It is, I think.
It's... No.
Well, because he says so.
I know so,
But he says so.
When?
Because basically what he said, the reason he casts her down, and she does that walk of shame, which we'll get to, is so that people don't... All she has is her power and fear. And then when she takes that walk of shame, she's stripped of all that.
Well, she is, but
I don't think... And he waited till the perfect opportunity to have her do that, because now the king has no power. We've all seen... This season shows us he can't do anything.
Right.
He has Marjorie. She does the walk, there's no one to question
it's all about the gods, and I think that he thinks that not even queens are above the law of the gods.
Absolutely.
I think it's all about, repentance and it's all about the gods.
But if she can repent and it benefits me too, that's his game. That's his game. He's doing the will of the gods, but he's also doing the will of the gods to serve his own personal interests as well.
I disagree with that.
But
he walks around without shoes on. It's like I really think he is a godly man, and that if you know people in the Catholic Church, they really think like, this is for God.
Yeah,
you know?
and
like,
some of them think they need a private jet to fly.
Some of them do, but I don't think this character is one of them.
I think so, because he could easily just stay in the gutter where he was with it.
No, but he wants to do good for the gods. It's not about him. But he still wears no shoes.
I know, but
it's not about
higher position.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't get riches. You know this. He doesn't get any riches. He doesn't live in a fancy place. Like, he still does God's work
with more power, though.
To do God's work, not for his own benefit. Not for his own benefit.
We'll agree to disagree with that fact, because I think if he was truly for the God's work and not for his own, he could have easily stayed where he was.
No, because he doesn't. He doesn't have the ability to actually reach everybody if he were just staying in the gutter.
Well, that is true.
He took that opportunity to actually be like, oh, I'm actually in a position where I can help the most people, where I can punish the most people, where I can do the God's bidding. I think it's more that than it is like, oh, I want to be on the Iron Throne or I need power.
Well, why do you think he kept Cersei's secret as long as he did?
I think he still was playing the long game of like, am I in danger here? Like, can I actually, when is the right time to... Because she still is the queen, right? So I think he was still waiting for that opportunity. But anyway.
Queen Mother.
The Queen... Well, yeah, Queen Mother. But she obviously still has a little power.
Yeah, basically.
So, for all intents and purposes, she's the queen.
Yeah.
Right.
And she knows it, and everybody else pretty much knows it. So.
Right, so that's a really, like... It just switches your expectations because you kind of are watching this. You want bad things to happen to Cersei, like you want her to lose, but you just kind of know.
Lose like that.
Huh?
I said you don't want her to lose like that. I mean,
that's why this show does a really good job of taking villains and putting them through something absolutely mortifying.
Yeah.
And you actually kind of feel for them a little bit.
Yeah, like with Theon. With
Theon, there's a couple of other examples where it's like, oh,
but I think they're at this point, I think they're the two best examples of people like you can't stand.
Yeah.
And you want them to get their comeuppance, but when they actually get it in the way they get it, you're like, ooh, I don't. Not like that. No.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah. It's true. The show does a really good job of that.
Oh, yeah.
Building those moments. But it does kind of come as a shock where you just think that Cersei's untouchable up until this season. And you're just like, she's just untouchable. But she's
and it's also the way she gets it too is like it comes out of left field even for her and for us.
Oh yeah.
Where they're talking and he's like, well, what would happen if we stripped you down? What would we? And she's like, whatever. Like, and then when her cousin comes in, she's like, oh my god. If he talked.
Hold
so
on,
it's like
bearded dragon.
What can she do? And at that moment, she knows she's in trouble.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then when they throw her in jail, and she's like, the last face you'll see is me when you all die. Yeah. She thinks like, oh, this, well, I'll be out here in a second.
And she tries everything, She's like, oh, I can make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. I can, a Lannister always pays their debts. Like, she's trying all these different methods.
Yeah, and they don't care because they're doing God's work. So it doesn't work. I mean, I guess we're talking about it. So let's just continue to talk about it. But just to see her at her lowest, like when the lady's trying to get her a confession, she doesn't do it. She has the water. She says confess. She doesn't do it. She spills on the ground. She leaves to see Cersei licking the floors.
That's the low point.
It's like
for sure.
You think at that point, oh, she can't get any lower than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they, she confesses to a crime, not all of her crimes. She's still lying.
Thinking that would get her out of there, get her pardoned,
mercy,
and it did, but
not the way she would think. So she still has to do the walk of shame, and you can see her looking at King's Landing in the Red Keep and the castle in the distance, and thinking, if this is what I have to do to get back there, so be it. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't, give into anything. She just does her walk, no talking. It's just like, wow, she is a proud, proud, proud woman. Because I don't know, there's not a lot of people in that world that would be able to do that the way she did it.
I mean, I think, and they did there's a nice shot in there of her when she's walking, just eyes on the Red Keep, and she's just like, sort of like eyes on the prize, Yeah. Like, I gotta get back there because that's where I'm gonna exact my revenge on all these people.
I mean, like, getting back there is like, it's all worth it to get back there.
Yep, exactly.
And then once I get back there, it'll all be better.
Yeah, and we get an interesting surprise when she does finally enter. We see the Mountain in his new form, his new Bane form.
Just like, you take a vow of silence, no talking.
Until all your enemies are dead.
Like, can he talk?
Yikes.
Who even knows at this
point? I don't even know.
But that look on her face,
yeah.
when the Mountain picks her up and takes her off camera, that looked like it was all worth it.
Yeah.
Because now I'm back where I'm supposed to be. Now I have my personal bodyguard, the Mountain, and now she's like at that point starting to plan her revenge at that point.
Right. And we still...
And who knows what it's going to be.
Right, but there's still like going to be, obviously we see Marcella pretty much... We don't see her die, but we know she's going to die because of the poison. So Cersei still has... they leave that cliffhanger like, oh, when is Cersei going to find out that her daughter is dead?
And then pretty much that Jaime couldn't do anything to stop that either. Yep. It's like, so you failed two of your children already. It's like...
Yep. It doesn't look good.
Bitter pill. But back to Cersei in the sense that I'm curious where season 6 is like... Because she put the Sparrow... It's again one of her well-laid plans that she thinks comes back to bite her again. How is she going to go about dealing with the Sparrow? Because pretty much he has the people on his side. Yeah. And they armed the Sparrows too. Yeah, so they're like weaponized now. Yeah. It's her. Like, so yeah, exactly. So she didn't realize she has to undo what she did. Yeah. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that whole thing turns out. But
right, and sure, and so up to this point in the series, we've been, talking a lot about religion and the gods and stuff like that, but we've never really seen it put to use in this way. I mean, a little bit with the Lord of Light with Melisandre, we've seen like some of that, which has been important, but in this way, like the religious context just presses everybody down.
Well, I mean, Cersei says there's really two pillars: the crown and religion, and without one, the other crumbles. So,
but I mean, she's kind of lying.
Well, she isn't in the sense
that was just her way of getting him to do what she wanted. Yes, she knew that he could eliminate the Tyrells for her.
Yeah, but there's a little bit of truth in that fact that people do care about religion. Care about the crown to a certain degree, but it's when you prey on those things.
Yeah, it's just never been important up to this point in King's Landing. Like, the religion, the gods, we really have not talked about it. I know, my bearded dragon's like losing her fucking mind.
She can't get back home.
I'm gonna have to like lock her in the bathroom, or in the crypts.
Are you gonna put like a little chain?
Marine. Yeah.
A little chain on.
A little chain. Poor baby.
Well, let's talk about everybody else in King's Landing. So there's Tommen the King.
Right, who is obviously getting along really well with Marjorie. Seems to be really happy. A very kind king, but a very weak king. Yeah. Cannot get anything done. No. Doesn't want anybody to get hurt. Can't use force to do anything. Talk to the High Septon to get Loras out of prison or jail or whatever it is. And you can see Marjorie start to realize how she's going to have to take matters into her own hands.
Yeah, how spineless he is.
How spineless he is, yeah. So she's pretty disappointed. And then, of course, they're in trouble, Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a big deal because Loras has lied about being a homosexual, and Marjorie lied for him, and lying to the gods is a great offense as well. So things are not looking good for them.
No, and you think that they're gonna get away with it at one point when they're having Loras' trial, right? And she's like, let's get out of here.
But then I guess the one dude was Oliver, I guess his name is, was brothel, paid off for we'll give you your life if you just
if you squeal.
Yeah, exactly. So so much. It's just so nail biting.
It's always funny, like when the Sparrows came to raid the brothel. They always say like, "Oh, this is Peter Baelish's brothel," and they're like, "Who cares?" Yeah. Like that's supposed to it's Peter Baelish's brothel. Oh, let's just leave and go home. Like that never works. Yeah. Oh, this is Peter Baelish's brothel. So what? Everybody who says that always gets like hit. Like stop saying that. It doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Yeah. So it's pretty brutal. We see like the violence there, but so we get to see Lady Olenna come back, Grandma, because things are going south. Yeah. So she's starting to realize that everybody's kind of in trouble too, because she tries to talk to Cersei about like, and she tries to talk to the High Septon about like, I'll just pull all my funding, or I'll we provide all the wheat, so we just won't do that anymore. And the High Septon's like, who do you think it is that harvests the wheat? Who I'm in control of? Yeah, which is like the people. Yeah, exactly. So, they can't really use their power or their riches in this case. Yeah, I mean, which has always worked before.
Yeah, and then she even kind of mentions like, I miss your father, because you could deal, like, she didn't like Tywin,
she got him.
She can deal.
She understood him. Yeah,
because he understood and she understood. Yeah, like, hey, we don't like each other, but we kind of need each other. So like, you totally bend a little, I'll bend a little, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle, and we'll both not be happy, but we'll both move forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they both understood that, but now Cersei's not playing that kind of game. Yeah. She's doing her own thing. Yep. She just wants power. Power, power, power. Yeah. And she knows that Marjorie has Tommen wrapped... Like, that after they got married, and I love the fact that they never really made a big deal about that wedding. It's like, they're married and let's move on. Right. After their wedding night, when she's like with her little hen house, and they're all cackling away, and Cersei comes in, and she's like, ooh, I'm a bit tired. Yeah, mother, and I'm a bit tired, and, he's half lion, half stag, long night, and, like, just her, like, rubbing it in Cersei's face, like, now I'm queen. Yeah. I don't even know what to call you now.
I mean, that's, like, Marjorie...
I love Marjorie.
She should be smarter than that, to know not to be passive-aggressive like that. She should know at this point that Cersei is... dangerous.
Well, she does know that. That's
she doesn't. Why is she pushing her buttons then?
Well, that's why she whispered in Tom and said, "Wouldn't you be happy at Casterly Rock?"
No. But to Cersei's face, she's
because at that point she has all the power.
No, she doesn't.
To her knowledge.
That's my point. That's my point. She should know better than that. Yeah. She should know better than that. She should know that Cersei is evil. Well, but she rubs it in her face.
Yeah, but. Rightfully so, because Cersei's been rubbing it in her face.
You gotta play the game, though. Marjorie, she's not doing a very good job, because she pissed Cersei off. What? That was a bad plan. Well, terrible idea.
I think Cersei would have done what she did regardless.
Maybe, but like, I think it's been building. Marjorie's been doing this though. Like these little, she's like dropping, like passive aggressively, like, and she knows what she's doing. Absolutely. And she knows that Cersei's picking up on it. Absolutely. So she should not have been doing that this entire time. Well, because I'm sure it made Cersei snap.
Maybe, but like, to Marjorie's defense, it's like at that point, she was playing it passive aggressive because she had to. She didn't have the power yet.
She didn't have to play passive aggressive at all. She doesn't have to push Cersei's buttons. Well, she doesn't. She probably
so she started that game. She didn't
be the bigger person. Is my point.
Well, she's not.
She should have been. That's my point. She should have been smarter about this, because now she's fucked, and her whole family's fucked too.
But from her point of view, she looked like she won at that point. Not only was she not only is she the queen, she knows who and what Tommen is. She knows. Naive. And she knows that, a little bit of this, and he's puddle.
But Cersei's not. So she's being very naive.
But if you have the king's ear, and you just whisper, she should be happier in Casterly Rock, she'd go like, oh, well, he's going to strip her off.
Naive. She's not been naive.
And then that's going to be it.
Marjorie's very naive, and she should have known better.
I think she put too much faith in Tommen, and she realized she couldn't.
I mean, that's possible.
Like, she believed
she's naive.
She believed in her own powers. You know what I mean when I say that.
Once again, she's naive.
But that also comes back to how weak Tommen is, because a stronger man that's been wrapped around a woman's finger would have literally been like, oh yeah, she's out of here.
Yeah, maybe. But also, I think Marjorie knows that Tommen maybe doesn't have the kind of power.
Well, she learned that.
Or at least she certainly learns it.
Yeah, I don't think she knew at the beginning.
So yeah,
because she's thinking he's king. Well, he'll fight for me. He'll stick up for me.
Yeah, I mean, she's trying. You know, she took Grandma's advice. She's like, okay, I'm gonna sneak in. I'm gonna
use
be
my powers.
Passive aggressive. Like, we're not just manipulate him. In the best way I know how. But
for the most part, it kind of worked.
But I wish Lady Olenna would have maybe instilled a bit of fear of Cersei. I just don't know how they missed that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that happened.
I mean,
but
again, she could have played the exact same way, and if Tommen was a different person, it wouldn't have come back to bite her in the butt, because she would have been shipped off to Castle Rock, and that would have been the end of it. So
but she wasn't, and so she just rubbed it in her face.
Well,
it's like,
Well, I think when she rubbed it, and then it's like, hey, Tommen, Castle Rock. And then even when when her brother's arrested, he goes to him like, I thought your mom was gonna go to Castle Rock. I thought we discussed this.
Yeah.
Like that's supposed to be a done deal. What is she still doing here?
Yeah.
It's pretty much what she was saying. Like, hey, I give you what you want every night. Why am I not getting what I want?
That's how I feel about my life too.
Well, let's not go there.
Just kidding.
But I think from her point of view, she played it right.
It's just hard to watch.
It really is.
Stupid. Why are you... Mother! It's like, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm like, you're so
Well, it's
dumb.
the same thing when she leaves her sister. It's like, come on. Like, they're both playing. They both can't stand each other. And they both know what's going on. And Tommen's just like a little doll in the middle, and they're fighting over him. But,
yeah.
But, well, one thing we didn't talk about with Cersei that's really, really important is that flashback at the beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah. How did we miss that?
Yeah, well...
I guess I've just seen it so many times that it's like, yeah.
I always wondered who that girl was. And they didn't really explain who that was. Who was with her.
Her friend? I guess just a friend or a...
Like, I don't know if that person ends up being important later or anyways, I don't know.
Not.
But anyway...
There's no way that person's gonna pop back in season 8 and just be like, remember me?
I don't know.
No.
It doesn't matter. But just the
yeah.
fact that, she goes to this witch and
Maggie the Frog, I think is the witch's name.
Oh, I don't know. Oh. But let's go with that. Goes to the witch, pretty much, she wants to hear her fortune.
But she's also cocky, like, she's like, oh, tell me how great my life's gonna be, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
she's Tywin's daughter.
She's cocky, yeah.
She's
for
got
sure. She's like, these are my...
name.
Yeah, her friends, like, we shouldn't be out here. They're like, these are my woods, to the witch, like, you are my witch, because you're in my woods. Yeah. And it's like,
flogged?
Don't be afraid of my father. Like, she's really cocky, and, like, you kind of see she's just always been that way.
Yeah.
Like, just nothing
like,
can touch
Cersei,
me.
all right. Like,
nothing can touch me.
Didn't you have to really say that's who it was? It's like, once you realize it's a flashback, you're like, yeah, that's Cersei.
Yeah. So, we learned some interesting information, which, if you're a fan of the series and you like fan theories and trying to figure out what's going to ultimately happen in season 8, this prophecy is important as well.
Yeah.
Because, we won't talk about where we left off in season 7 yet, but this is a very important scene that plants, her future, and we've already seen, so basically Maggie the Frog says, your husband's gonna have 20 kids.
Yeah, you're gonna have 3.
Which is interesting because now we know that there may or may not be more Baratheons still alive out there. I don't think it's gonna matter.
I don't know. I remember when they kind of...
They butchered a lot of them. Obviously, Gendry escaped.
It's still out there somewhere.
Yeah, Gendry escaped, but yeah.
I think there's 19 others besides him.
Yeah.
But,
well, they killed the one baby.
They killed a lot of babies after in that little cleansing, but also the fact that he was gonna have 20 kids. She was have 3.
Yeah.
That she would be queen for a time, and that someone younger and prettier would take over.
Yeah.
And in her mind, that's Marjorie.
Yeah.
And, I mean, at this point, who else could it be?
Yeah.
So, in her mind, right off the bat, even with Joffrey, she's like, I'm queen, this is the person who's coming to get me and overthrow me. Yeah. I have to figure out a way to get rid of her.
And I think she didn't necessarily take that prophecy seriously until Joffrey died. Yeah. And then maybe she's like, okay, this might be something that is going to come true. Yeah. So I think at that point she starts to realize she has to take care of business. Mm-hmm. So yeah, kind of a creepy scene. Also, she gives blood with her thumb. And they do that a lot in this series where it's like your hand, your thumb. It's like if I had to just like give someone my blood, maybe I'd cut like a place where it wouldn't hurt as much or like... But that's so visceral.
That's a good point. But I just think, like, visually, it's
cinematic.
more appealing
I know.
like slit your your hand or
I know,
cut your thumb.
but
if you just go like this, I mean, it's
like some of it's not a lot of nerve endings.
Because like it's like no, give me your hand.
I know it's much more much more visceral. I know.
You know. But yeah, but it's a powerful, and I like that they started the season with that, considering we see her there, and then where we end with her is a nice bookend.
True.
Because like all of her decisions are kind of fed off what that lady told her.
True.
And it's her trying to counteract
Cersei,
that. Yeah.
Because she changes. You know, like this is her process of being knocked down, like being at the top, being knocked down, and then sort of slowly finding her way and becoming this new Cersei. She never grows her hair back. You know, it's just sort of like, this is the new Cersei that we get. So it's a really interesting season for this character.
Yeah, I mean, you can almost kind of say like the old Cersei died during that shame walk, and then a new Cersei, who at this point, unbeknownst to her, only has one child left.
Yeah.
So like, how is like this new Cersei going to greet the world?
Yes.
Considering everything she's gone through.
Yeah.
So, wow, it's just. You love to hate her, but it's like you love to see her on screen because her facial expressions are just the best in the series. Like you can read literally what she's thinking on her face the entire time. When she's going through that walk of shame, when she finally gets back to the castle and she has that look on her face when we last see her, like all the moments leading up to that, when she realizes who the head sparrow is talking about. All those scenes that you just read her face and you see like when she's the happiest to when she's the saddest.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. She doesn't even need. She needs the least amount of dialogue.
It's great casting.
In the entire series.
She's a brilliant actor.
Yeah. She's amazing. Can't say enough.
So, is there anything else we need to talk about in King's Landing? I guess we can jump to Jaime and that whole scenario.
Yeah. I mean, so basically, Jaime is again. He's a different man. He's been on this road of. You could say redemption, kind of,
or just learning. Like he kind of things happen to him that give him a different perspective.
Yeah,
so
he's seen more things.
Yeah, exactly.
And like his brother, the more of the world you see, and I think this goes in real life, and in general.
Yeah.
The more you see the world, the more you can understand it, and it's not just black and white and good and evil, and I think the rest of the Westeros and the rest of the world would benefit from that, because a lot of people make decisions on the old facts and how things were, and how things were explained to be exactly. And when you live that way, you can be easily manipulated.
Right, exactly.
So I think what Jaime's learning,
and once again, a good example of how the children are forging this new path.
Yeah.
So, subverting the old ways. And I think Jaime's struggling with that, but he's learning. So they send him and Bronn off to Dorne to get Marcella back.
After they get that little snake
the threatening message, which was clearly sent by, what's her face?
Lady Sand. I can't remember her first name.
Dang it.
Oberyn's
girlfriend.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like daughters.
Elia? No, that's the sister's name. Does it begin with an E?
No.
Well.
Anyways, but you all know what we're talking about. Yes. Her name will come to us. So he goes on a secret mission. He doesn't want to, and Bronn asks him, like, why aren't we going on the Lannister ship? He's like, I'm not here to start a war. I don't really want any trouble. I'm just trying to get my niece back.
Mm-hmm. And Bronn's like, sure.
Yeah, come on. And he's almost like, don't go there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to get my niece back. I'm not trying to, muck her up the waters, because they're kind of mucky already.
Yeah.
And they get to Dorne, and obviously, they get met at the beach, and they have to kind of fight their way through that and hide the bodies. And I love how when they meet those four guys, it's like, well, how many can you take? One if he's slow.
Yeah.
So Bronn has to pretty much kill all the rest and kind of weaken one. He's like, well, he should be slow enough. You're able to handle him.
Yeah, I love that moment where Jaime uses his hand to save his life.
Unwillingly. And
which I always felt like was kind of some kind of a foreshadow, which hasn't come to fruition yet. But, just the fact that he doesn't have a hand and uses his new metal hand to save himself, I just feel like might be an important thing. Perhaps in season 8.
Well, he doesn't know how to use it. I mean, he's not used to not having a hand, so he has to get used to the fact that that's a metal hand, not his real hand.
Yes.
Because the fact he put it up just out of instinct,
Yeah.
not knowing that that's an advantage.
Yeah.
So he's learning to use it as an advantage, not only look at it as a disadvantage.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love the interaction with him and Bronn. It's
they're
very
becoming
buddy
they're
comedy.
becoming Bronn is kind of now taken up to Jaime like he took up to
Tyrion.
To Tyrion. So I'm terrible with names.
There's a lot of them.
There's so many to juggle. But like you can see their friendship bonding. It's not just about, hey, I'm paying you and I'm promising you things. It's like, no, there's actually a bondship. There's a kinship there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see how their relationship has grown since they were first introduced. Oh, you got him by herself.
Yay! Yeah. Dragons
So,
just flying around all over the place here. Mm-hmm. We'll get there. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So
eventually.
like they meet his niece, and she doesn't want to go because she actually falls in love with her betrothed, which is, like he even says, is rare that they actually fall in love before getting married.
Right.
And they try to get her out, but that doesn't work because the sand snakes interrupt, and they all get captured.
Yeah,
and I love the sand snakes. I love them.
Yeah. Oberyn's daughters.
Well, it was one daughter, and the rest of them aren't really his.
Are they not all
daughters.
his daughters?
No.
Okay, they're just hers. All right.
Well, the one is hers.
The one.
And then I think the rest just kind of band to their cause, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they're all her daughters.
Oh, her daughters, but not his daughters.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, sand snakes are fun. So it's always fun to see like women fight like I don't know.
Fight men, yeah.
Because that
kind of come out on top.
Yeah, because that's kind of not how things are done in King's Landing. There's like the proper ladies, or just in Westeros in general. That's kind of not how things are done. So it's fun to see like these women assassins like kind of badass. So that's fun, and you look forward to that, and they like play off each other. They all have different personalities.
Using different weapons.
Yeah, different weapons, psychological weapons too, as we found out when Bronn was in jail.
Yes, which was, well, it's funny how they play with that because, like, obviously they know what's going to happen to him. He doesn't know. He's just thinking it's a cut on his arm, no big deal. It's come to find out that he's been poisoned.
Right, and it's also an important plot point as well, because we needed to establish that poison in order to understand what happened to Marcella in the
and
last
the fact
season.
that she's like, well, what am I? And it's funny how some women are in the sense that she knows he's just saying that to get the antidote, but she still wants to hear it. And she still revels in the fact that he says it. Even though whether he believes it or not doesn't matter to her, she just wants to hear the words. Yeah. And that's good enough for her to give him the antidote. Yeah. Which is her little game, and what does she get? What does she really benefit from it? I don't know. We don't know at this point.
Just it's like a control thing.
Yeah, she says he's handsome enough, but giving him the antidote really doesn't do anything for her.
Well, you never know. If they meet again, she'll be have the upper hand.
I guess. I don't know if she's thinking that far, but I think she's just vanity in the sense like, just say I'm beautiful. Say I'm the most beautiful. Yeah. And then here. So those characters are fun to watch and obviously pretty deadly or good at what they do. So we see them fight and they can hold their own. Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, we get to meet Oberyn's brother, who's the Emperor, King, Prince, of Dorne, who doesn't want a war, who's very kind, who's like, we don't do revenge here, like, he died in trial by combat, which he volunteered for, like, there's nothing we can do, that's his own fault, we're not going to start a war over this, and we're not going to torture this girl Marcella just because you need revenge, and so there's this, like, power play between the two of them, which is really tense at times because you're not sure, like, is she going to subvert him, and then she does, but then she apologizes, but then subverts him again, starts a war basically, just like, because revenge is a powerful motivator. Turns out, she's willing to do whatever she needs to do to get her revenge. She basically poisons herself to poison Marcella, to kill Marcella.
And it seems like this is not the first time she's done this.
Probably
just
not.
Kind of seemed like they had the system down.
Because she starts to bleed and she's like, all right, it's time for you to take the antidote. Yeah. Like it's no big deal, like it's Tuesday or whatever. Like it's whatever. Yeah. Not a big deal for her. And the fact that she knows that by the time it'll take effect, they're way off in the distance. There's no really turning back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting my revenge, and I think even part of her just wishes she could see it, just to be like a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I think she's just kind of staring forward. I think that's why, because she's just like, I'm picturing it in her mind. Like, and she obviously wants to see Cersei. You know, but can't. So.
Well, this is just, you know, she knows this is
not
the end of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's not the end. This is just the beginning.
Yeah. Well, as far as they think, but like this started with, you know, their destinies were on this path for a while, and this is just, you know, something that bring it up to head. But
right before Marcella dies, though,
I know,
which is so sad. We, you know, because Jaime's a little lost. Obviously, can never father children because he's the King's Guard, or the lead King's Guard, whatever it's called. So it's a really touching moment when he tries to tell, after their time in Dorne, talking to what's-her-face, whose name still escapes me.
Yeah, like there's no shame in
there's
what
no
you're
shame
doing.
in this. And I think he's like, okay, you know, maybe it's time. And Marcella has been living there for like a couple years now.
And he's seen how well she's like adapted to it.
Yeah, to that lifestyle, and you know, so maybe I'll tell her that I'm her father, but she already knew.
She's like, I knew.
She's like, I always knew.
And not only did she says, I know, I'm okay with it. I'm glad you're my father. And that look of like relief. Of like,
so heartbreaking.
It's okay. Because they've been living with that shame the whole time, and not to admit it. You know, like, and maybe that's why at the beginning when they first been like, oh, you don't even really know me. Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure like their whole life he had to kind of put himself back. So like he couldn't really like, I have to pretend like I'm the uncle. I can't pretend, you know, we're father and daughter. But to see that embrace, the first time they both acknowledge who they really are to each other. It was very nice.
And then in that moment, she dies basically. You see the blood and it's.
I really feel bad for Jaime because he's on this road of redemption. And he gets this news of like, I have a daughter now. Yeah,
this new lease on life.
That he probably thought he never was gonna have.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's trying to do right by her, but like, I'm the one who has to go rescue her. I'm the one. We know why he says that. Even he can't admit that. Even Bronn is like, really? Why are you the one? Bronn wants him to admit it, but he won't. Yeah. Because again, he's that shame. It plays a big theme in the show in so many different ways. Yeah. But when he has that moment of like, oh, you're my daughter, you're my father. Yeah. It's so nice, and he can only revel in it for a couple of seconds until you see that blood coming down from her nose. Yeah. And we don't know what his reaction to that is after she died. Does he suspect her right away? I assume.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because the last thing he says, when she kisses her, like, I wish you all the best wishes in the world, or something to that degree. Yeah. And it's yeah. Sad.
Very sad. Didn't like watching that one.
No, because she's innocent, and it's always hard to see innocent suffer and die. Yeah. And especially because that's her dad, and I mean, I think when you're a parent, you only have really when your kids are young, you only have two jobs: is to protect them and take care of them, and to protect their innocence. And she's been a pawn, basically ever since she was sent to Dawn. She's been a pawn, and she's been used, and unbeknownst to her, she's cattle now. And Jaime has to not only deal with that. It's a long boat ride to deal with that, and then having to tell Cersei that. So.
I wonder how long of a boat ride it really is.
Well, they never really throughout the season. They really don't say how long things take for the most part. Yeah. I mean, we hear the word fortnight thrown around, but no one says, "Hey, it's going to take us X amount of days to get from here to there." So it's a long boat ride, but I really feel bad for Jaime.
Yeah, definitely. Me too.
Who should we talk about next?
Well, as long as we're sort of at the southern tip, we can jump over and talk about what's happening in Marine. Yeah. So we have... I love... There's a couple like buddy comedy moments just throughout the whole series. Like different characters team up together and travel together and stuff like that. So So here we have Jorah and Tyrion.
Yeah.
Because Tyrion and Varys are on their way to Meereen to meet Daenerys.
Yeah.
And Tyrion really doesn't have, like, any hope or faith. When he gets out of that box, he's like, I killed everyone. I killed my dad. I killed my lover. He's like, what good is anything? I just want to drink.
So that's just his shame, too. I mean, it goes back to his shame, and it's been like, that shame has been kind of almost like on his back his entire life.
Yeah,
so,
hard to avoid. So,
yeah, and it just compounded with killing his dad.
And Jorah, who has been, banished by Daenerys, is looking for a way to get back in her good graces, so kidnaps Tyrion. So now we have this dynamic where Jorah is the strong, silent type, and Tyrion, who talks a lot. Very funny scenes. But there's the scene which... So... We introduced grayscale, right?
Yeah.
And this disease, and we see Old Valyria. They're traveling through Old Valyria, which is where they send the stone men, who are people who have this disease but can't be cured, and it messes with their brain. And there's an attack there, and Jorah gets...
Well, first he's like, don't let them touch you.
Right.
So it's this whole, like, thing with them on the boat. Don't let them touch you. And then... Tyrion gets knocked off of the boat, and we see him get dragged down. You think, oh my god, he's done for. But he's saved, and he's like, well, did they touch you? No. Did they touch you? No. But then, as he walks away, he just moves his shirt down. You can see a little bit, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, so now we know...
What is that going to mean?
Well, and this is interesting. I read an interesting article, and this has to do with subsequent seasons. We won't talk much about that, but grayscale may or may not play a bigger role than we think it does in terms of what's going to happen ultimately in season 8, because they keep talking about it, they keep referencing it. It's important for a lot of characters, and so this might be important. So they really hit home on the grayscale thing, but immediately, in the immediate moment, it just means he doesn't have anything to lose.
He's been infected,
Like, he has nothing to lose anymore.
And then that you just see his actions kind of like... I'll just do whatever. I don't care. I've kind of been sentenced to a slow death anyway.
Yeah, so he's like, I may as well fight to get back into Daenerys' good graces. So
do whatever it takes.
Of course, this happens just after Tyrion sees his first dragon.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool moment because, just that moment of awe, because everyone else in the world thinks dragons are gone.
Yeah, they're a myth.
And they
like
hear, they're like, oh, well, we're not sure if she has dragons, or they're probably really small, just like the last dragons were hundreds of years ago. But nope, big ass dragon coming your way.
Yeah,
but Drogon.
But it also goes back to the sense of like the old way, like these dragons have been dead for thousands and thousands of years. It's one thing to because he knows they exist because he's been told. But it's another thing when you're told something. And you see something, and that look
especially if it's
of
a dragon.
Awe and wonder on his face, like, oh my god, there's a dragon flying over us. And to compare that to, like, oh, Drogon has gotten way bigger and way more powerful.
Yeah.
And that represents the woman I love. Like, them both having this awe look, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
And then the stone men, attack them.
Stone men.
It was interesting because we haven't seen that. I mean, we've seen grayscale on Stannis' daughter, and somehow they were able to save her. They didn't really go into specifics
on
how they saved her.
There's like some mystery around this disease, which is why I think it's going to be important.
I mean, Stannis knows because she knows, but we don't know. He didn't really make that clear when he was telling her the story.
I don't even know if he knows. He's like, they gave you some stuff, and I don't know what they did, but it cured you. I don't even know if he knows.
Well, he might have been playing coy just to... Because maybe it goes very in-depth, and he maybe want to spare her.
I don't think he knows.
Well, we'll never know now.
We'll never know. Well, maybe we will.
Well, maybe. But the fact that somehow they were able to save her... And usually, from what we know as of the end of season 5, is that usually when you get it, it's almost a death sentence. Like, you're donezo. Right. And even they told him, like, oh, she has it, just send her off, because she's done, and he didn't want to have any part of that. And we'll get to Stannis in a little bit, but...
Yeah, so they get sold to slavers, basically, because Daenerys has reopened the fighting pits, right? So they get sold to slavers... And that's how they make their way back to Meereen to fight in front of the Queen. So it's like just a really almost fortunate series of events that sort of leads them to where they kind of need to be ultimately.
And it's usually how the show plays out.
Yeah, and
it
yeah,
continues
exactly.
to play out.
And like immediately Jorah has the opportunity to fight for her, and she's like, "What? It's Jorah. He came back." And she's like angry but surprised, a little bit happy maybe that he's not dead, or
but
kind of a mix of emotions on her.
Well, also even before that, when he first gets brought to her, and then with Tyrion, and he's like, "Oh, this is my gift for you." It's almost like, "All right, nice gift. Yeah, get out again."
Mm-hmm.
Like she banishes him again.
Yeah.
To the point where then like she takes Tyrion under her wing.
Yeah.
Maybe she kind of is like, maybe.
Those are interesting scenes too,
that,
because
especially
we know both of these characters, and we know that they both are good people and would do well together. But they don't know that because they've always had to be wary of, obviously other houses, just other people in general. It's like even I think Cersei says, like, as a Lannister, it's just like you can't trust anyone except us, except our family. Not that Tyrion necessarily believes that, but that's just sort of the world that they live in over there. And then, of course, Daenerys has tried to, people have tried to assassinate her. Jorah, her best friend, has betrayed her. So, she's not necessarily trusting either.
No.
So it's those scenes are really interesting to hear them talk to each other.
But she understands that, and he makes it clear that if you're going to rule a world, that even though you think is your home, you're not really familiar with. You don't know the houses, you pretty much don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to need someone wise to advise you. Because right now, she doesn't really have anybody wise advising her. So she's kind of playing things at the hip and with using her instincts. And And she's trying asking everybody else for help, but that's kind of not what their roles are.
Right.
And she needs someone who she can trust and confide in who has experience in that role.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of... There's a bit of naivete as well with her because she thinks like, oh, people are waiting for my glory. My dragon just tried to fly and she doesn't have wings, so. No. Anyway, so she's like, oh, the people will rise to my cause. The people will wait for my return. They're sewing banners for me. And Tyrion's like, no, that's not happening. They only care about like themselves. They don't care about who sits on the Iron Throne as long as they're like happy, So that was kind of a reality check moment for her, and that's the kind of dynamic that Tyrion brings to the situation, which is really exciting to see unfold because he's in a position now again of sort of power, like this advisory position, but he actually might be able to do more good now.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where we leave it too.
With him, but with Dany, even though like in the season she's really struggling with the fact that she's on the throne now, basically, and she doesn't know how to handle it. Like all these people coming to her and telling her the problem, she gets bored of it. They want to open up the fighting pit. She doesn't want to do that, and then these sand snakes keep just like rising up. And it's basically just the people rising up, like saying, like, no, this is our city. We do things our way. You're an outsider. You may have these unsullied, but you're an outsider. You don't belong here. Yeah. And her just dealing with that and not sure how to go about it. Yeah. Because she doesn't have someone who she can confide in to give her good advice. Yeah. So she tries different ways on how to get it done.
Threatening with dragons.
She threatens with the dragons, which is a very I thought literally she was going to kill them all. Yeah. But she thinks better of it. She thinks like, well, maybe I'll marry one. Maybe that will fix things. Obviously, that didn't fix things. So she's not sure how to go about it. And I think when she sees and meets Tyrion, it's a matter of like, well, maybe now I can have someone to give me that hopefully I can trust. But even if not, for now, can give me sound advice because he's seen more of the world and experienced more of the world than I have in a completely different way. And that can advise me on what to do going forward. Yeah. But she doesn't really know.
Well, of course she doesn't know because we see what's happening in Marine. We see the Sons of the Harpy starting to rise up. So there's this new threat here in the city that don't want her there. Nope. That want things to go back to the way they were. Mm-hmm. And this sort of starts from when she executes one of the slaves. Yeah. Because he killed a prisoner. Right, and they all start hissing at her, which is like, oh, this is not a Misa situation. Yeah,
what's really worse is, Misa. Shop.
Not anymore. So she's really struggling with like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
The Sons of the Harpy are, they rise up, they kill Sir Barristan, which is sad because I wanted to see him a little bit longer, kind of at her side, and just this person who was betrayed, who was Kingsguard, and
we only really see him fight that once for her, and then kind of go down.
But not before he tells a nice story about Rhaegar, her brother, and how just kind he was and how nice, which is important because up to this point, all we've heard about Rhaegar is that he raped Ned's sister, Lyanna, that he kidnapped her, and like that he's just been this evil Targaryen guy. So that's all we've known from Rhaegar so far. So Sir Barristan's story about how they used to sing in the street, give the money to the poor, they would hang out, that's an important moment because we trust Sir Barristan. So we're like, wait a minute.
We know he's telling the truth.
So everything people were saying about Rhaegar kidnapping Lyanna, like how can that possibly be true?
It just puts a seed.
The little seed
that they planted there, and then maybe it'll grow later.
Exactly.
We don't know, but
So
it goes back to the fact that like you can't always go by what you're told because what you were told may not be the whole truth or the entire truth. So
So she's also Daenerys at this point is also not sure what kind of a queen she is because her two dragons are in the crypt in terms of like a dragon queen. Her two dragons are in prison basically. She tries to go down to visit them and they do not want to see her. They're not happy. She's scared. So she's like, oh my god, I'm losing control of my dragons. Drogon has flown off and like we don't even know where he is. He like shows up once, says hi, and then goes away again.
Like, what up, Mom? I'm out.
And she realizes she can't control these dragons. And Jorah has been saying that sort of all along. It's like they're dragons, Khaleesi.
Yeah.
Like
they do what they want.
Even though you're their mother, they do what they want.
Well, he's almost like they're not you're not their mother. They're just dragons. They'll do.
Yeah.
And him saying that and them kind of snapping at her does put doubt in her mind about that.
It does.
About like, oh, maybe I'm not their mother.
Which makes
could just be food to them.
Which makes the last episode, that scene in the last episode, that much more powerful. So we see the Sons of the Harpy rise up, and it looks like they're gonna lose. And she holds hands with Missandei.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
oh no,
their eyes.
they're going down. Like she's like ready to go.
I'm at peace with it. Yeah.
And then I love this scene so much. And then Drogon just.
Out of like a ball of fire
comes in and just starts wrecking shop, which I'm like, yeah!
But also like they hear it too, like what the hell? And like they all just like, and then woof!
It's so
and
good.
It's just like, oh my god, it's a dragon.
Some less than desirable like blue screen work, but she rides the dragon for the first time.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to this whole idea of a dragon rider, right? So she climbs up on Drogon and they fly away.
But I like the fact that I like it, and it's also very interesting that there's this moment where Drogon is like we're burning people, and they're throwing the spears at him, and obviously he's injured, and she kind of walks up to him, and he growls at her, and she's not sure, and we're not sure, like, is he gonna bite her too? Is he gonna put her in the flames? And then when she kind of like, hi Mom, how's it going? Here, rescue you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then she's like, almost like, yeah, it's okay to get on my back.
Yeah.
And I'll get you out of here and ride you off into
safety.
safety.
So it's a big moment. So there is a little bit of trust there still.
Yeah.
Because we weren't sure. She's like, I can't control it. But there is some trust there. So it feels a little bit better. So it's like, okay, so she can use the dragons in some way, even if it's not like complete control. There is a benefit to it. As mine just crawls all over I can't control her.
No, she just does what she wants.
I wish I could show you guys what
But I also find it like why didn't they try to just stab her while she was getting on the dragon? Or stab her. Because
everyone's probably more. Like...
I know, I mean, you could play off against it like, yes, they're in awe because the dragon has burned people and there's a dragon right in front of you. So you can just chop it off to like, oh, they're in awe of it. And the fact that she kind of just leaves the rest of them there like, peace out!
It's pretty funny. They're all just like...
It's all sad, and then they're like, oh, we don't know what to do now. We don't know where she is. She doesn't even know where she is. So they kind of leave Grey Worm and Tyrion and, what's her name?
Missandei.
Missandei. I love Missandei. They leave them to control the city, and then Varys comes back. We haven't seen him for a while. And then Tyrion's like, it's nice to see you, because he knows that if he's gonna be the hand of the queen, for lack of a better term, he's gonna need someone like him.
Yep.
Because he has information that no one else has.
Yes.
Still. So even though he's way across the world.
So Tyrion suddenly finds himself the ruler of this huge city, which is really just interesting turn of events.
And again, it's interesting to see him, as he describes it, shoving his shit out of a box when we first meet him at the beginning of the city, to him pretty much at the season. And he is running a whole city by the end of it, and it just goes to show you how Tyrion's power and how he's playing the game can benefit you in a short amount of time. Because literally he was on the run where he was about to be executed at the beginning, for him to escape with the help of Varys, to now, shoving his shit out of a box on a ship, to now running a city.
Yes.
It's like, in one season, that all happened.
Yes.
So, and not even in their time, not a lot of time has passed between then and now, for him to literally regain everything that he lost, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how to see where they go in him as Drogon. I'm sorry. Saying his name wrong.
Very important.
I'm sorry. Leaves Dany kind of on his cliff. He's kind of licking his wounds, kind of,
He's so cute.
I know the CGI on him looks really, really good.
It does.
Just like, hey, I'm just chilling out. Like, you figure it out yourself. I'm just gonna be resting
surrounded
here.
by bones.
Yeah, like he's been eating and literally licking his wounds, trying to get better. Yeah. But she wanders off into this clearing or this valley,
looking for food or looking for anything.
Yeah, and then she runs into some old friends.
The Dothraki. But she drops her ring before she gets captured, so that if anyone comes looking for her, they can maybe pick up the trail.
I'm gonna see that one little ring on the ground.
I know, it is kind of
this is a big clearing. I'm gonna see this one little ring. I mean, I get what she's doing, but it's like, in reality, who's really gonna find that ring?
Yeah,
or whatever. But
it's a little bit of a stretch.
But it's funny how as soon as she sees him, she knows, we're not on the same terms when we left. Because once my husband died, I'm nothing to you. Mm-hmm. So she knows right away, I'm in trouble. Mm-hmm. So she takes the ring off because she knows, they're gonna take me. Yeah. Don't know where they're taking me. Yeah. But this is not gonna be a friendly interaction.
No, because we know that the Dothraki only follow power, and she didn't really leave in the best graces. Absolutely. So we're not really sure what's gonna happen there, but there's sure a shit ton of them. There's a lot. Of them.
All they were just circling a meal, they're going to eat her. Obviously, probably not, but it's just the fact that the way they were circling her, we don't know where. We're not 100% sure where she is. We don't know where they're going to take her. We don't know what they're going to do with her. Mm-hmm. It just leaves that in question, and it's a nice way to leave her off going into season 6.
Yeah, very much of a cliffhanger. Yeah. So as long as we're across the narrow sea, let's talk about what's happening in Braavos with Arya. Mm-hmm. So Arya makes her way to the House of Black and White. Yes. Is that what it's called? Yes. With the no-faced people. Finally makes her way in, and
takes a while.
Kind of not what she expects, that she's just gonna, have a mentor and she's gonna be trained to be an assassin. But it actually is it's a religious
absolutely
situation.
Which she didn't expect.
Yeah, and it's a slow burn.
Very slow.
And there's a lot of unanswered questions, and she's what is this? What are they doing? They're washing bodies, and they're drinking they're killing people, and she's like, what is happening? She's sweeping the floor,
I didn't come here to sweep the floor, man. I came to
kill. What do you do with the bodies? And she's very impatient. Yeah. Which ultimately, by the end of the season, comes back to bite her in the butt. So she has to basically give up her identity. It's how did no one come to own all of Arya Stark's clothes and her sword and
her money?
And her money. So she has to wrap everything up and toss it in the lake, but she can't bring herself to get rid of Needle. Yeah. So we know, we're she's not following the rules.
She's not 100% in.
She's not all in, so she hides Needle, and she's playing the game
she's
the
playing along.
She's playing the game of faces and trying to figure it out, and thinks that this is what she needs to do in order to be trained so she can get her revenge. But they keep trying to tell her, it's not about you, it's not about what you want, you're still Arya Stark, aren't you? You have to be no one, you have to serve the many-faced god. And she doesn't exactly do that.
Well, she tries to do it to the best of her, she tries to have her cake and eat it too.
Yep.
And that's basically what Arya is doing this entire season. Because
Exactly.
her holding Needle and thinking about it and thinking about it because she knows once she throws Needle into that water, Arya is dead forever. Because that was going to be her tool to get revenge. And once she throws that away, it's almost like giving up her identity and giving up on revenge.
Well, right,
and
but
she wasn't ready to do that.
number 3, it's the only thing she has left of her family.
That's true.
It's
too.
the only thing that sort of reminds her of Winterfell.
To her knowledge, it's the last Stark sword too.
Exactly. So there's also that element. So there's all these factors. She doesn't want to get rid of it.
I don't blame her.
So in this season we see it's always been a mystery how the face thing works, and it's like, how are they doing that? So we see the Hall of Faces, and like, oh, okay, so that's why they're killing people. They're taking their faces.
Them. Yeah.
So the god will let them use it to take other lives, and sort of like just the cycle keeps going. So that's kind of it's just a creepy place.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people are brought in. You don't know how they were killed.
Yeah.
Until you see Arya tell that little girl and her dad.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, I'll tell you the story.
Well, she's being trained how to lie. To be someone else, to pretend to be someone else, like come up with these stories.
But I also like the fact that when she's telling her story, and she gets to that point about the Hound and how she hated the Hound, and it's like lies.
I love it.
Because I think part of her does hate the Hound and was glad that she left him in the position she did. But part of her did start to feel something else for her.
She doesn't hate the Hound. I mean, it's a lie. She doesn't hate him. She does not hate him.
But she did rebel at the time.
She thinks she does. But she doesn't hate him.
Yeah. I mean, her actions do kind of make us believe that is true, that she didn't hate him. But she came to look at him in a kind of weird, like, captee kind of way of father, pretending to be your daughter type thing. She did kind of
word for that?
Stockholm Syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was that or just the fact that, she did see a little bit of honor in him.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when she had no one else to sell her to, he was still going to protect her.
Right.
So there is some respect in there.
Right.
And it was just nice to see that, him like call her out on that.
Yeah.
Lies.
Yeah.
So
she finally gets a chance to be sort of like this faceless person.
Yeah.
She still has her own face, but she's trying
come
out
up
her
with a nice
skills.
story.
She's trying out her skills.
Selling
oysters.
Really well.
Yeah. So she's supposed to kill this guy who
Thin man.
The thin man who like gambles with in a way that is hurtful to like people's families, the captain of ships. It's hurtful to their families.
Like bets on if they will come back or not.
Yeah. But then keeps the money if he wins instead of getting it to their family. Anyway, so she's supposed to kill this guy.
Poison.
But instead, she sees what's his face, Tyrell, and Sir Baron.
Yeah.
Sir Baron arrive in Bravos. And she just completely...
Plans change.
Yeah, just like, nope, not doing that anymore. I need to kill this guy.
Like, eyes on you now.
Well, you know what? That's another scene where I do not like this guy, but did he have to go like that?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. Only because,
I didn't enjoy it at all.
you could see what kind of guy... We've been shown who he was
this
entire time.
I know.
But the show even, like, doubles down on it when he's at the brothel and then he's about like too old.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, I'll bring younger. Too old.
Yeah.
Bring me too old.
Yeah, like
it's almost like, do you have what I want or not? Like you know what I want. Like stop beating around the bush. Like you want to like little girls. And you think, oh, he's sleeping with him. He's not. He's punishing him.
He's just beating him.
And then someone's like, well, then you deserve what you get because it's not.
I'm not saying I didn't like it.
I loved it.
See, it's just the show does a really good job of like making people just die in these horrible ways, and you're just like, no one deserves that.
Yeah, but he did.
No.
Like I didn't look away. I was like, yeah. Plus it's Arya, so I love when Arya gets revenge, especially when people are on her list. So I revel in that because I love her character and I love because she's reveling in it too. So a lot of people don't like to kill, or just think they need to kill. She's enjoying the kill.
Right, but I feel like at that moment I was like a little concerned for her because it's like, okay, you're sort of not following any of the rules.
No, she doesn't care.
Exactly, which is like why it's kind of troubling. You're like, this is not gonna end well for you. You can't just like do that. You gotta follow the rules.
Yeah, she does, but in the sense she's similar to Cersei in the sense where they don't care what the rules are.
Well, she got cocky too.
Yeah,
she thought she would be able to
Marjorie,
do this stuff,
and like a lot of the women in the show can get blinded by a lot of different things, a lot of different motivations, and they just cast caution to the wind and just do what they think is best at that time.
But they also think they're going to get out of it unscathed.
Yeah,
too. And I
she
think
thought
Arya in that moment
she literally
thought
like
that.
when she killed him, she said, "I'm Arya Stark," and she put the face back. She thought like, "Oh,
yeah,
name
exactly.
off my list. Put the face back. Gonna go about the rest of my day, no problem."
Yeah, but then so we leave off. She's blind now.
Yeah.
So that's the price she had to pay.
She doesn't stay this way.
And so we're not sure at this point what that means. If she's gonna get kicked out, if she's still gonna stay there, like what's gonna happen. So like how can you possibly be an assassin if you can't see?
Exactly.
So at that moment we're just sort of like, oh no, like what is her path gonna be now that she can't actually be an assassin anymore and she can't see anything?
She can't be a faceless person. She can't get revenge like. Because without those two things, it's like, what else is she now? Because she doesn't really have that famous last name in the sense that at this point, like to save her,
right?
Because she's too far away from home for that to really matter.
Yeah, and too far removed from.
So it's like, where does her future lie now? We don't know, and it's another good way of leaving her off, not knowing. We not knowing, and she not knowing what's going to happen next. Because as of right now, she doesn't have Needle. She's kind of a cast out in the House of Black and White, and she's blind.
Yeah.
So it's like, you really have nothing. So she literally has to she's been humbled.
Yeah.
Almost just like Cersei was, to the fact that like you just can't do whatever you want.
Yep. And
expect there to be no consequences. There are consequences, and now you have to pay it. Hopefully, she doesn't have to pay for too long. We're not sure what's going to happen, but the fact that a lot of the characters think they're untouchable. And the fact that you have to be reminded that you're not.
Yes, that is correct.
It's heavy heart that she's blind now.
Yeah.
Heavy heart.
I know. Lots of questions.
Lots and lots of questions.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the wall.
Go to the wall. Well, we're actually kind of going a little past the wall. At one point during the season, because the whole season sort of is wrapped around this idea that Jon wants to bring the wildlings south so that the army of the dead won't get them. So he's Lord Commander now.
Which he didn't
want. But enough of the men, I guess, believed in him. But that is not going over well with some of the elder members of the Night's Watch.
And even Stannis is pretty much saying, just like that old saying, keep your enemies close, your friends close, your enemies closer. He's like, only fools say that. Get him out of here. Like, don't keep them around. Get him out of here.
He says, I think the quote is, the person who said that didn't have any real enemies. Or something, or didn't have many enemies. Or something like that.
Like, get him out
Which
of
is
here.
so it's a little foreshadow there, because as we see by the end of the season, Jon is,
he didn't listen, and he should have.
Yeah. So they go to Hardhome. To get the wildlings and bring them back, because the Army of the Dead is coming. And I love that episode, because we get finally we get a real sense of what this army's capable of and how many of them are, and because we just sort of saw them walking before, like and turning babies, and like they've been kind of like a slow.
There's just been more story,
ominous,
and we've seen them, but we haven't really been. And we've seen how they've been killed, so like we know Dragonglass can kill them up to this point. But you're right, they're more of a threat in just name and lore, but not more so for us of action.
Well, until this episode.
Until Hardhome, when we literally hear them coming, and then you just see this wave. Coming down.
So big battle sequence there.
Huge.
So they've already gotten a lot of people onto the boats. Yeah. So they were able to save maybe half, I think, is the number that they said. Something like half the people. And we learn, interestingly, that Valyrian steel can kill a White Walker. So that's an important thing.
I don't think the Night King knew.
No.
Yeah, he didn't know.
I don't think so.
Because that was a surprise to him, like, because at that point he's looking down.
He might have not assumed that it was a Valyrian steel sword.
He didn't know, like, something was happened there that, like, whoa. Because he looked at, we saw his POV of it, and just almost like, well, that's...
He's like, wait a minute, this is Valyrian steel?
Or something. But just the fact to see, like, what people are really like when they can see death coming. It's like, because everything was nice and calm and putting the kids on the ship and women on the ship and yada, yada, yada. But when death is literally coming for you, you can see how even men are just like, will do anything and everything to get to safety. And that battle is just, it's gruesome. And like, you just see the army, the shot when they're just jumping off the cliff. And like, literally, you're like, what the hell are they doing? And just like, to their death, for lack of a better word, and just to see them rise up and just get up and like, it doesn't matter because we're dead, we're coming. We only have one job, to kill you. Yeah. And we won't stop. We don't need fire, we don't need shelter, we don't need food. Right. We don't need anything. We just have one goal, and that one goal is to kill you to make our army bigger. That's all our concern is. And how do you fight something like that?
Well, you just have to make sure that you get everybody south, so that, you know what I mean?
And then that was that's what John's point was, and he was even telling them, like, it doesn't matter who they are or who they used to be. Doesn't matter, and that's why, again, goes back to people not knowing the world the way people who've explored the world do. Because all the people at the Night's Watch, I was like, well, the Wildlings, we're enemies. Yeah, we've always been enemies. We've always been enemies, we are enemies, we're always going to be enemies. That's never going to change, no matter what the circumstances. But if you look at the world from a different perspective, which some of the characters have started to do, John including, he knows what the real threat is, and he's trying to get everybody prepared. Like, these guys need to, they're men, just like we are, and women and children. We need to get them south of the wall. Otherwise, A, they're going to die, and B, they're going to become part of the Night King's army. Yeah. And both things are bad. Yeah. So we need to get them south, and then that just scene of people just dying and dying and dying and dying.
Well, the better scene is at the end. It's completely silent, and they're pulling away on the boats, and the Night King just rises his arms, and all the dead just silently stands up, and that's when they realize the gravity of the situation and the sheer numbers. And if that's all it takes, all the dead bodies that, you know, as they move south, all the dead bodies, they're just gonna keep doing this, and that's how they add to their army. Exactly. You know, where it's like funny, where it's like Stannis has to like buy his army, or they have to inspire people to join them, or they have to make alliances with houses. All the Night King has to do is kill people and do this.
Yeah, and the fact that like how Stannis' army got weaker and weaker as time gone on, but the Night King is getting stronger and stronger because he doesn't have to buy his loyalty. Right. Once you're dead, you're his. Right. And that just goes to show how they have to approach him differently than everybody else, because you can buy an army, you can marry and grow bondage and favoritism that way. But with the Night King, all you have to do is just die. Right. And then you're part of his army just like that, and you're always part of his army. Yes. Regardless of if it's snowing, if there's not snow or anything, you're hungry, you're not hungry, they don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Right.
Another interesting thing is, so we've seen that there are just basically skeletons. A lot of them are just skeletons. So now we know you don't have to necessarily be freshly dead, or you don't have to like still have flesh on you. You can be you can be dead for years. So when we see all the bodies spread out after the battle with Stannis and the Boltons, like I couldn't help but think like, burn them. If they don't burn those bodies, those are, like, as they move south, like, if they get that far south, that's just, you know, so there's, like, this really heavy, you know, in the back of your head, you're like, this isn't good. So they get south of the wall, they come to Castle Black at least, and they take everybody through, and people aren't taking it well. No. The people the Night's Watch are not taking it well. They're like, they're going to slaughter us in our sleep. Yeah. Like, how could you do this?
Kind heart Jon Snow.
Yeah, it's going to get us all killed.
Because they're still in that old way of thinking. Yep. Like, they're our enemies. They're always going to be our enemies, regardless of what's going on everywhere else.
Yeah. So Jon does the right thing, and...
Well, he thinks it's the right thing. because it is.
Well, it is, but it blows up in his face because he's betrayed. So not before sending Sam away though. So So he sends Sam wants to train to be a maester because Maester Aemon's dead.
In Old Town.
Yeah, Maester.
I like how he says Old Town.
Old Town.
Yeah.
So he brings pardon me. Brings Gilly. I'm dying. Brings Gilly and the baby, Sam, all up to the Citadel so that he can train to be a maester. So Sam out of the way.
Yeah.
They finally, the rest of the Night's Watch, I think, see their moment to strike, and they kill our friend Jon Snow.
But I like the fact that they
trick him. It's just such a
your Uncle Benjen.
Yeah, it's just
somebody
such
might know where he is. And he's like, Uncle Benjen?
And
might know where he is.
The first time seeing it, because this is I've seen this several times, but the first time I was like, okay, and you really don't know.
Yeah, you don't get it because even in the preview,
you don't think they were gonna stoop down.
Yeah, because even in the preview they remind you Uncle Benjen, he went out and his horse came back, and then was whoa, someone might have said Uncle Benjen, and he was like, really?
Yeah, let's go.
And he goes down there, and they're all circled around, and he goes to a circle, and you see the word traitor, and as soon as we see it and he sees it, you know, it's over for him, and then when he turns around and that knife goes in him for the watch, it's like, oh no.
And the worst one is when Ollie does it, because he's just a kid.
Yeah, he's the last one to do it, and it's like, you've seen this kid ever since his family's been murdered and slaughtered right in front of him. All the people he's known has been murdered and slaughtered in front of him.
Yeah.
And you see him John kind of take this kid under his wing and I want him to learn. That's why I want him to listen to all my conversations and things like that. And to take him under his wing, show him how to fight.
Yeah.
And for him to put the last sword in, that's hard for him and us to take in, because even John says Ollie.
His last word is Ollie.
Yeah, and then just for him to do it and for the watch, it's like, no, you fools! You think you're doing it for the watch?
Fools!
You're doing it for your own self, because you're scared. You're out of fear. You fools! You killed John.
And then of course there's just that. I think that's how the season ends.
Yeah,
it's
just
a shot of John bleeding out. Yeah. Just that slow push in, and I remember I had to wait a whole year till the next season. So this whole time
that's a hard way to end.
So I watched that shot so many times to try to see if there's a hint of him being alive. He moved, or something happened with his eyes, or something. The blood took an interesting shape. There's all this stuff on, but yes.
Well, I mean,
so there is some information, not necessarily in that shot, but the idea that he's not dead is possible.
Well, possible, but they drive it home that he's pretty much dead.
Well, sure.
Because we see the knives go in, and we see his body.
Well, yeah, we know he's dead, but we don't know if he's going to stay that way. Well, because Melisandre comes to the wall, and we know that the Lord of Light has the power to bring people back to life. So there's this hope there. Still, really hard to watch though. Regardless,
at this point, you can only speculate because there's nothing in the shot.
No.
And in the scene to give you hope.
Nope.
Because you don't know exactly how it's going to play out, and they shot it in a way where you just think that's the end.
Yeah.
Because he's laying there, he's motionless, he's bleeding out.
And
what else is there
And it's
in their world, what else is there? It's the same way but different. With the Hound is you see the Hound dying. But is he dead? We don't know. We don't see a body. But with John, we see him hurt, and we see a body, and we see him bleeding out.
Well, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's definitely dead at that point. He's dead.
But
we don't know if he's going to stay that way, because there's
different ways of doing it.
Yeah, there's just a possibility that he might be back. So
it's just hard to see, and especially that's the last thing we see of the season. It's just him bleeding out.
That's rough. In terms of character arc too, it's is that all he was good for? Is just bringing half of the wildling south?
But we do get to see him lead more. It's just when he gives the order for that guy to go to the other town,
right?
And he disobeys, and he's like, well, bring him outside, give me my sword.
Right. There's of course
and I love that scene.
Right.
I love it because the old John, especially when he called for mercy, would have gave him mercy.
Yeah.
And John knows every time someone is pleaded mercy and I didn't kill who I was supposed to kill, it's come back to bite me.
Mm-hmm.
So he's learned his lesson. He's like, yep, I'm going to hesitate, but nope, do the deed. And you can see growth there.
Yeah.
But the old John would have let him go, and it would look bad on him.
Right.
And things would spiral out differently, but not good for him in a way. So I liked this season. We got to see him grow and take more command and lead well.
True.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't just that he was good to lead them south; is that his character has grown a lot.
That's true. But when you think of it like, oh, this is where he ends, it's sort of like there has to be like more of a plot related. Like I couldn't believe that he was dead because it's just like there has to be more to the plot that he needs to be a part of. It was the way I thought of it.
Yeah.
So it's just really hard to watch because there's so many unanswered questions with what he was supposed to sort of do and how he was supposed to.
And how they were kind of building him up. Yeah, you're right.
So that's really hard. So
it's a really bitter pill to swallow if you if you're watching it for the first time, and B, when you're watching it when it first came out, not knowing 100% for sure
heartbreaking
if he's dead or not. Because I remember just going back and reading when that show came out, when it came out the first time.
Yeah.
Is like they really made it seem like he was dead, and with all the previews and stuff for season 6. You never saw him, so that people were just like, "Oh my god, he really is dead."
And then you like go on the internet and you're like, "They saw him on set." And they're like, "Oh, he's on set." It's like, oh, I got these little hints. It's like, oh, he hasn't cut his hair yet. That means he's.
Yeah, so it's like you were.
So, I mean, that's
torture.
But
I'd have to go through.
I'm never gonna have to deal with that again come a few weeks from now because I'm never gonna have to wait for the next game until the spin-off, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's talk about Stannis because this is like a really
let's talk about
just
Stannis.
oh boy. So Melisandre obviously sees things and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna win. You're the true king." I can
see the Bolton banners burning.
Exactly. Like I can see all the success and all that stuff. And I'm sure she did see the Bolton banners burning. Yeah. Just not by the hands.
Not the way we know right now.
Nope.
They're not. So
he really just sort of trusts everything that she says, and
well, not 100% at the time, because he has a little bit of doubt. Like when she first brings up the idea of burning his daughter.
Oh, it's not doubt. It's not doubt.
He wanted no part of it.
He just didn't want to do it. He didn't doubt that it would work. Because he's seen the power of
but he didn't want anything to do with it. He's like,
no, but he knew it was going to work. He knew it was going to work.
Yeah, but I don't think he was willing to make that sacrifice.
I know. I'm saying, but he knew that it would have worked.
True.
Right.
True. But
so he didn't want to do it, but knew that like everything that she had done so far has worked for him to his advantage.
Yeah.
So I mean, eventually I guess she just kind of broke him down and just sort of like. Because Ramsay comes in the night and like burns a bunch of stuff, and it's like we have to hit now.
Their siege weapons, their food, and
other food. Yeah. So
and then people leave.
Some people leave. So I think at this point, when Davos says we can't march north, we can't go what can we do?
What do we do? Like we're caught in the middle here.
It's like, well, now's the time. I gotta burn my daughter alive.
Well, I mean, at first when she brings it up, it's like, well, can't we just use her blood like with the leeches? She's like, no, that's not enough. Because he's looking for another alternative.
Of course, yeah.
He's looking for another alternative. Because I agree with you. He does think that it would work.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it.
That's a big sacrifice. That's a big ask. You know? Because like when he tells her that story of like when she was born and how they told her to get rid of you and he didn't. Like you feel something for Stannis a little bit when he's telling that story. Like I could have gotten rid of you.
Yeah, he's like maybe he's not all that bad of a guy. Maybe there's like a little bit of love in there somewhere. At least
maybe.
For his daughter.
Yeah, I mean maybe he doesn't know how to show it. He's not the type that has his emotions on his sleeve. Mm. He doesn't really show. He doesn't really show anything. He just does what he thinks is right, and once he makes a decision, he doesn't go back on it. But we don't really see a lot. That's as much of emotions that we do see from him until the moment.
Right. So you kind of know something bad's going to happen when he sends Davos away to go back to the wall, and you're kind of like, uh-oh. And then they have this nice conversation with Shireen and Davos do, where it feels like a goodbye.
Yeah,
forever, like a forever goodbye.
Yeah.
As an audience member, you're like, oh.
Well, at the time, you don't know it because he just...
Well, no, but the way that it's shot, the way that it's written, you're like, this is going to be the last time.
Like, he made her a stag. Yeah. Can you make me a dove so they're not alone?
Yeah, next time I see you, because we're going to be together forever. Yeah, it's sort of like, this is not going to... One of these two people... Like, this is going to be the last time they see each other. You can just kind of feel it, you know?
But the part of me that really grows to despise Stannis is when him and his daughter have that last conversation where she's explaining what book she's reading
Yeah.
and how one brother's going against another. It kind of mirrors what he and his brother were going through.
Yeah.
And the fact is, when she asked, "Is there anything I can do to help you?"
Mm-hmm.
Almost kind of like, "Well, you're volunteering for this,"
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing again that makes me sick to my stomach watching that scene is because in his mind it's like, well, to justify it, well, she's volunteering for it because she asked, "Is there anything I can do?" That's how it was played out. Yeah. And the fact that she's calling for him and he doesn't respond and he stays in the back so she can't see him. Yeah. And calling for her mom and then the mom thinking like, this is she's
like, this is the Lord of Light wants us, right? Right? If the Lord of Light, right?
Like right thing to do.
And then she hears the screaming.
You can just see the snap where it's almost like, nope, my motherly instincts are kicking in. That's my only daughter, my only child. Yeah. I just can't do nothing while she burns. But at that point, it's too late. Look, what can you do? Yeah. But Stannis never wavered. Yeah. And like that's the thing that is just so disgusting. It's like your only child is calling and screaming for your name and you do nothing. Yeah. It's like at that point, I didn't care what would have happened to him. Like if Ramsay could have skinned him alive and they'd been like, dude, you deserve it. Yeah. So to me, I think he got off really, really easy. So the funny compared to how he ended up going out. Yeah, and so the funny thing is, so the next morning the snow's melting, the path is clear, but what Melisandre did not see was she didn't anticipate how the people were going to react to that. So basically his whole half his army is just like, this guy and took the horses. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're like, bye. So that's something they did not anticipate. And Melisandre, you can see the look on her face is almost like well, I love how that scene plays out because at first we see the ice melting and she's like, aha, see, the Lord of Light has melted your pathway. I could remember everything I was telling you. Look, it's coming true. So we did the right thing, right? I guess you're gonna win, right? And then when my lord, half the men have left. My lord, they took the horses. Yeah. And she's like, and then my lord, something else. Your wife has hung herself. And then my lord, Melisandre's out. She's like, yeah, I'm out of here. So I might have seen something in the fire, but I didn't see it the same way. Well, she does. I think she's completely doubting her power at this point too, where she's like, maybe the Lord of Light isn't showing me. Like she's just completely distraught. You see her riding into Castle Black, just sort of like, what am I doing? Who am I? Like I was wrong. How could this be? Mm-hmm. Like the Lord of Light. Anyway, so yeah, that's when Stannis is like, well, to Winterfell. Let's go. I mean, to his credit, I mean, he is right at the head of the army. Mm-hmm. Like he's not the type to ride in the back, and other people fight for him. He's always at the head. You have to give him credit for at least that, even though he's a scumbag. Yeah, true. But to see like the Boltons kind of like the way they had shot, you could just see them like engulf. And they were very organized too. Yeah. So like it's like a bird's eye, and the Bolton army's very organized, and Stannis' army is just kind of like because they weren't expecting. You can see they're beaten even before they get there. Well, like they're walking. Well, because they're like, the siege begins at dawn, so they're like gonna set up camp or whatever, and then it's just like. Yeah, and I think Stannis was, even though like he thought it was the right thing to do, once his daughter died, he was defeated. Yeah. Like, there's really no coming back from him, and to see his men watch that and the way he's reacting. Like, you don't... how can you follow a guy like that? How can you want that guy to be on the throne? I would have left a long time. And that's why half of them... Like, the guys that stayed is like, well, what does that say about you? Mm-hmm. And then you deserve what you got, too. You got killed and slaughtered. Yep. So, I mean, when you go behind a guy like that, it says a lot about you, too. So, at the end of the battle, we see Brienne... trudging through. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't see her trudging through the forest. We see Stannis sort of trying to pull himself up. And there's a couple more dudes he has to kill, but he's on his way out. His leg gets cut. He's gonna start to bleed out. He knows he's done for. Yeah, but then Brienne shows up because she's been watching Winterfell, obviously to protect Sansa, and she's like, "Yes, now's my chance." I'm gonna swoop it and finish the deed. Yeah, when Podrick sees them coming, she's like. I mean, she doesn't smile, but you can tell. She's yes, I can kill Stannis. She's been waiting for this. Yeah, exactly. Once again, she's been making it know that I'm going to get my revenge. Yeah. You killed him. Mm-hmm. I saw your face, and she wants him to admit it. Yeah, like admit it. It was you. I'm not crazy. Admit what you did, and he admits it. And it's almost like a weight has been lifted off her shoulders. Like, yes. Yeah. Now you've admitted it. Now I'm going to kill you. Right. We don't even get to see him die, which is
an interesting choice for someone that we don't really like.
Yeah,
we don't actually see the blow. And so many other people we see actually die. Heads roll.
Yeah.
We see Ned, like, granted it's not a close shot. It's like further away, but like we see Ned.
We've seen a lot of people
we see a lot of people lose their heads. We see a lot of people get just, die in these gruesome ways, but we don't get to see Stannis. So that's an interesting choice.
And I'm wondering if it's not for his benefit. I think it's for her benefit. It's because it's one thing for a lot of men to do that. It's another thing for her to do that. And the way we look at her as this knight, even though she is doing her duty, and he even says, just do your duty. Like, you have every right to kill me based on what I just said and what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're in the right. Yeah. But it's another thing for us to see her do it. It kind of it'll put blood on her, for lack of a better word, even though she's doing her duty. And I think they want to just save us and her from that.
Yeah.
I think. Because you're right. If anybody else kills Stannis, I want to actually literally see the sword go.
And honestly, I think you're completely right. As soon as he killed his daughter, his wife killed and herself, and Melisandre left, he's already dead.
Yeah, he's
dead. So like,
already.
we don't need to see him physically die.
Yeah,
like we already know that. Like,
we just need to know justice.
That was the
served.
end of him. Yeah. So still interesting though.
Yeah. A lot of pieces are being, like, this season, a lot of major pieces are being moved around or taken off the board in this season, and we're gonna go to Winterfell now. But it's just like, as we're moving closer and closer to 8, you're seeing a lot of shifts happening.
Yeah.
And that, like, seeing him die is a major shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, huge.
Yeah, because he's been looming, like, even from season 1.
Just one more player off the board.
Exactly. And he was a big piece on the board. Even, like, the Iron Bank bet on him to a degree, like, saying, we think he's going to win to a degree. And to see him lose in the fashion that he did is shocking and gratifying all at the same time.
Yeah, so now that we're at Winterfell, why don't we just talk about what's going on there?
The Boltons.
Right, so Sansa's there. We get our another wedding. I call it the White Wedding just because it's snowing, but I think most people call it the Black Wedding. So I don't know. What do you guys think it's actually called? I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, I like the White Wedding because it's snowing.
Yeah, that's kind of... And she's wearing a white dress.
Yeah.
Anyway, so... But, that also gives it like a kind of nicer connotation than what it actually is. So,
especially what it turns into.
Well, yes. So, they get married under the weirwood tree. This is something that Sansa probably wanted as a young kid, like
at one point,
to get married and be, a lady and all this stuff. And now just, her family home, and she's there, and it's just a disaster, and she's crying. They're married. And then, of course, they have to consummate the marriage, and we know what Ramsay's like, so he makes Theon watch.
And that's the most disgusting thing. It's like, it's one thing to rape her, but it's another thing to have Theon or Reek,
and
stand there and watch it happen, and you can't do anything to stop it.
It's a good thing because, like, we've seen a lot of people die, we've seen a lot of people violated, but they didn't want to show us that because we like Sansa, and like that would have been too much. See.
It spares us.
So through Theon's face, we see what's happening.
We don't want to see it.
So we get the idea, but we don't actually see it,
No, we don't. I wouldn't want to see it, because a lot of things, like, based off her age, too. Yeah. She's still a teenager at this point.
Yeah, she's what, like 16, 17?
Yeah, maybe, if that. Yeah. She might still be like 15, 16,
I think,
maybe.
Yeah, well, I think... whatever. Anyway.
But like, she's a teenager at best. So, or at worst. It's just, you don't want to see that.
Yeah, right.
Because we already know what kind of guy Ramsay is.
So that was a nice choice, in terms of the director.
Storytelling, yeah.
Yeah, and the editor probably, too, had a hand in that. So, that's a good choice, but it's not a good moment. And then, you see her with all her bruises, every time we cut back to Winterfell, and she's like, Theon, please help me, please help me. You killed my brothers.
Every night.
You killed my brothers, like, you owe me. And she's just totally distraught, and then it comes out that, of course, Theon did not kill her brothers. Yeah. They're still out there.
Like, we know,
so Sansa
he knew, but she didn't know.
Yeah, she didn't know. So now she knows that 2 of her brothers are still alive
There's
somewhere.
some hope.
Or they might be alive somewhere.
Yeah, but that's enough of hope for her to start to do things.
Yeah, to start to try to...
Her self-interest and self-preservation. Right. Like, maybe my brothers are out there. She already knows that Jon is at at Castle Black and he's the Lord of the Night's Watch. She knows that, but the fact that her other two brothers are alive and out there somewhere, not knowing that,
definitely puts a little flame under her.
It's nice to see.
Coat.
But it's also nice if we go back to the beginning of the season where Littlefinger kind of marries her off, for lack of a better word, like when he gets that Raven scroll and he's like, oh, my wedding proposal has gone through, and you think, oh, it's him marrying somebody else, but it's like, nope, I'm marrying you off.
Yeah.
And then eventually she realizes that because she's starting to become more wise to the world and to Littlefinger and how he navigates.
Well, right.
But then also see Brienne trying to introduce herself and say, I was loyal to your mother, I'm here to protect you, and her to kind of say, nope, don't want your help. But for her not to give up, and just to kind of look over her from afar, and then to kind of get word to her that, like, the North remembers.
Right.
You still have friends in the
She
North.
kind of has a way out. She's got to light the candle in the highest tower. So it's sort of like there's hope there, and it's so heartbreaking when Brienne just turns her back and walks away to go find Stannis, just a split second before the light in the tower goes on.
But it's also funny, like that tower just has so much different meanings. Like the same tower
Bran fell from.
Yeah, and then when Reed tried to go up there, Ramsay's in there just chilling, like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. One of the more rewarding parts, though, towards the end of the season is when what's her face?
Marjorie?
The Kettle Master's daughter.
Not Marjorie, yeah.
It's not Marjorie.
It's something with an M.
It's like Melissa or something.
It's something with an M.
So she gets, not Marjorie.
Meredith? Not Meredith. It's something.
It'll come to me. But, so she just gets, she's such a bitch.
Yeah,
I hate her so much, and she's like,
the way she's been toying with her the whole time is almost like, oh,
And Sansa's like, I'm not an idiot. How long you loved him?
Well, I mean, but to Sansa's credit, at some point at the beginning, she would have been fooled, like that. This girl is all
no. Well, you mean the beginning of the.
Yeah, of the show, like she was naive. She would have
she'd be like,
"Oh
yes,
just give me my hair."
Yeah. So she's definitely learning to be. She's like so smart now. She's like, okay, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, like, I'll finish my own bath and like, get the hell. Like, who are you again?
So it was,
I don't remember you.
Yeah, it was really rewarding to see her get shoved off.
And that thud, like, ah!
And then the blood.
I was like, ooh.
And that's when like she and Theon are like, we should probably get out of here.
Yeah, they're back. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And then them holding hands.
Yeah, which is a big moment.
Yeah.
Because now we know that
trust me, I trust you.
They're allies now.
Yeah, they're in it whether they like it or not. And then they're taking that leap of faith. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay. But we know that she trusts him now.
Yes.
Where at the beginning when they had that first meeting in the kennel, she's like, oh, I despise you.
Yeah, and they're they're in it together, which is nice because they've been alone for so long.
Yeah,
like Sansa really hasn't had a friend she could trust.
Littlefinger.
Yeah, not really.
It's not really her friend.
And Theon obviously is just like completely whipped and mortified of everyone and everything.
We still feel bad for him now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, his sister tried to come save him, and he was like, "No, I'm Reek."
Yeah, and then the fact where he even tells like, "Oh, I was trying to avoid Sansa." You can see him trying to avoid Sansa, and then when they have that meeting, he's like, begrudgingly tells Ramsay like, "Oh, we met. Don't punish me. I tried to avoid it." And he's like, "Oh, I forgive you."
He's like, "I reward you with a bath."
Like, wow, I didn't get throttled.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of cliffhangers, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Like not usually that much of a cliffhanger, at least in the first few seasons, obviously. So looking forward to season 6.
Yeah, season 5. Yeah, a lot of different. Like I was saying before, a lot of pieces are moving around. Like the Night King has gained a lot more power.
Yeah.
And we see him being a real threat. Like he's been a voice of a threat, lingering, but now we actually literally see his power.
Yeah.
And see his power grow.
You know, it is funny. The opening sequence is sort of like a board game almost, where it looks like, kind of like these pieces coming together in the opening sequence. But that really is what it's like. There's like, pieces moving around the board, and then these two people are together, and then these two people are together, and we're in these different locations, and I mean, it's really great.
It also would be funny. Like I like the fact the way that every opening sequence we see where everything is, but I also would like the fact that if it was on like a chessboard. And you see where all the pieces are the same way, but it's on a big chessboard, because that's pretty much all this show really is. It is a game within a game within. It's like Inception. A game within a game within a game within a game.
It totally is.
Yeah, and it's all people playing different games to get different things, and it's just so interesting. And
I love watching
there's so many different places and people that watching it a second time, you get to revel in it a lot more because you're not questioning a lot of things as much because you know what things are and what they mean.
Yes, you pick up on a lot of little
details. And I'm watching it the
nuances.
second time. It's a lot easier to digest it.
Yeah.
The second time than it was the first time. So, that's our breakdown for season 5. What are you guys' thoughts? What was your favorite part of season 5? Your favorite kill of season 5?
Your favorite dragon?
Yeah. Well, there's only really one. Come on.
I like Viserion.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
I named my car Viserion.
Okay. Anyways, but what do you guys think? You can say who your favorite dragon was, or
sorry, Ghidorah.
or what was your favorite part about season 5? What are you looking forward to season 6? Any predictions? So this is our road to season 8. We've done season recaps for all the seasons prior. We are going to do one for season 6 as well. We did an episode breakdown of season 7. We'll do the same for season 8 when that does come out, and we'll also do a prediction episode breakdown before season 8 comes out to see what our thoughts are going right before season 8 kicks off. So you guys can look forward to that. So also make sure to like, subscribe, do all those great things. Make sure to hit that notification bell to be notified when all the things I just talked about comes out. So we can't wait till season 8. It's so close, but yet so far.
It is nigh.
Alright, so until then, I'm Sean.
I'm Alex. Thanks,
Bye, guys.
Bye.